If you have ever said to yourself, every single time I eat what I'm craving, I end up spiraling into a binge, this training is for you. If you feel like I can't even start having something sweet, because the moment that I have something sweet, the moment that I allow myself to eat what I'm craving, I always end up binging and eating way too much, this training is for you. So I hear this so often from so many people. Lorna, I can't even start with the chocolate. If I just have a little bit, I end up having the whole row. I can't eat what I'm craving because I always end up losing control. And I want to explain to you 3 reasons why this happens to give you some clarity. Because cravings are not bad. Cravings are not bad. And maybe you have heard, in the past, maybe if you worked with a personal trainer, you work with a certain health coach, you've been told, don't give in to your cravings. Cravings are bad. Cravings are not bad. You have to rewire your brain to stop seeing cravings as bad. Cravings aren't bad. And cravings are actually different from urges. People get confused. People do not know the difference between cravings and urges. And so a lot of the times people are like, I can't eat what I'm craving because I end up spiraling out of control, but you weren't even experiencing a craving in the first place. So we're going to dive into 3 reasons why every single time you eat what you're craving, you spiral into a binge. The first reason why you always spiral into a binge whenever you eat what you're craving is because there's guilt, shame, and judgment. Now, guilt, shame, and judgment are emotions, and those emotions block your body's ability from experiencing pleasure and satisfaction. So the entire time you're eating the cookie, you're judging yourself, you're shaming yourself, you're telling yourself you probably don't need this, you're telling yourself you probably should choose a healthier option, you're telling yourself, oh, well, if you want to feel amazing in your own skin, you shouldn't be eating the chocolate, you shouldn't be eating the cookie. So although you're honoring your cravings, which you want to do, right? Because when you actually eat what you're craving, you actually prevent a binge. But you're not going to prevent a binge if the entire time you're shaming yourself, you're judging yourself, you're beating yourself up, you're thinking that you're doing something wrong because you don't actually experience the satisfaction. So although you had a cookie, you're not even tasting it. Because of the guilt and the shame and the judgment, that blocks your body's ability to actually enjoy the cookie. You're not even enjoying the cookie. You're not even enjoying the piece of chocolate. And this is where you might be like, every time I have some chocolate, I end up binging. Yes, because when you allowed yourself to have the chocolate, you're feeling bad and you're shaming yourself. There's guilt. So you're not even tasting the chocolate. Your brain doesn't register that was so good. And so you continue eating more because you're not satisfied. Your brain does not register that was really good. It's as if you didn't even eat the cookie. It's as if you didn't even have the piece of chocolate. Because again, the guilt and the shame and the judgment blocks your body's ability from experiencing it. So you end up eating more and more and more because you're like, I'm not satisfied. You actually are satisfied, but it's the judgment that blocks you from having satisfaction. So 2 people can have some chocolate. One person eats the chocolate and they're beating themselves up the whole time. You should be eating something healthier. You don't need this. And they're going to end up finishing an entire box of chocolates because they're not satisfied. Compared to someone else that can have a few pieces of chocolate and they know that they're not doing anything wrong. They know that they're not doing anything bad. They're like, I'm safe to enjoy this. I'm allowed to eat some chocolate. I don't have to feel bad. I'm allowed to eat this chocolate. And so because they're not judging themselves, they're not shaming themselves, they enjoy it. It's like, oh, this chocolate was so good. Maybe it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon and they pour themselves a nice cup of coffee or a nice cup of tea and they enjoy it and they're like experiencing joy and pleasure and satisfaction. And because they can actually taste it and it was so good, they can move on without needing more. Sophia said, thanks to you, I finally broke the cycle. Thank you. That's amazing. So good to hear. Right? Versus the other person is like standing up, eating the chocolate straight from the bag. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm so bad. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling shame. You should be eating something healthier. They're going to keep on eating more. So that's the first reason. If there's any guilt, shame, and judgment, that blocks your body's ability from actually experiencing pleasure and satisfaction. So you continue to eat more because you're not actually tasting the chocolate. You're not experiencing the satisfaction. The second reason why you are eating what you're craving, but you always end up spiraling into a binge, is because you are unrealistic with your portions. I was speaking on stage this weekend and a question was asked. And she told me, she said, I try to have just one cookie, but then I end up going back for more. The problem is telling yourself to just have one. That is sometimes unrealistic. You might want 2. You might want 3 cookies. But you're trying to prevent a binge by controlling how much you have, but that makes you more out of control. The more you control your food, the more out of control you feel. So you're trying to control yourself to not binge, so you tell yourself, just have 1 cookie. But what ends up happening is you might have 1 and you're like, but I want another one. But the moment you go and you have a second one, right away you feel like, I messed up. I shouldn't want to. I should just be okay with 1. So then because you think you messed up and you feel like you're doing something wrong, then that's when you have 3, 4, 5, 6. You get into the all or nothing mentality. Well, I told myself I was going to have 1 and now I had 2. So I might as well have 3. I might as well have 4. I might as well have 5. Versus recognizing that you trying to tell yourself to just have 1 cookie is why you're having 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have to be realistic with your portions. It's not realistic to say, only have 1. Even, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, that might not be realistic. I was telling my clients the other day, I said, 1 tablespoon, it doesn't even basically go on 1 slice of toast. You have to be realistic with your portions. So you're trying to prevent a binge by telling yourself, just have 1 cookie, and that you trying to control just having 1 cookie is actually why you're eating more. I never tell myself, just have 1. I say, how do I feel today? One day you might want 1, but the other day you might want 2 or 3. But you are so afraid to allow yourself to have 2 or 3 because you feel like if I allow myself to have more than 1, I'm going to spiral into a binge, but it's actually the opposite. You trying to restrict yourself and just have 1 is the reason why you want 7. Because your brain doesn't like being told what to do. You telling yourself just have 1, it's like I feel like I'm in a prison. Your brain is like, you want me to just have 1? You want me to just have 1? Yeah, no, I'm going to have 6, 7, 8. So it's actually better to not tell yourself just have 1. It's better to check in and say, look, I don't have to just have one. If I want two, that's fine. If I want three, that's fine. And as a result of that, you're actually going to have less. There's been so many times where I've had clients be like, I can allow myself to have two or three, but then they're like, I ended up just having one because that's all I wanted. But if you're going into it being like, I have to have one, that's when you're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do I cut out sugar in a household where everyone buys so much of it? You don't have to cut out sugar. You don't have to cut out, this is the thing. I'm big in health. I'm big in taking care of yourself. But if you if you tell yourself like, don't have sugar, don't have chocolate, you're going to want those foods even more. So it's not about taking those foods out. It's about healing your relationship with those foods so that when you do have them, you don't binge. That's the truth. Okay, so the first reason why you eat what you're craving and you spiral out of control is because you are having shame, guilt, and judgment. The second reason is you're unrealistic with your portions. Now, the third reason why you are eating what you're craving, but you end up spiraling into a binge is because, pay attention, this one's really important, and it's not talked about enough. You think you're giving into a craving, but you're actually giving into an urge. There's a difference. So you might say, Lorna, I ate what I was craving and then I ended up binging. But you weren't actually experiencing a craving. That was an urge. And here's the difference. A craving is when you're calm. It just is like, that sounds good. I want some chocolate. The bowl of ice cream sounds good, or a big salad sounds good, or a smoothie sounds good, or some granola and yogurt sounds good. You're calm. You're not impulsive. It's just, I want this food. An urge is like, I need this food right now. You're already impulsive before even having the food. If you are already impulsive before even having the cookie, do you think you're going to spiral into a binge? Yes or no? Yes. If you are already in an impulsive state before even having the cookie, and then you have the cookie, of course you're going to spiral into a binge because you're already impulsive. If you're calm and you're grounded and you're just like, a cookie sounds really good, that's a craving. So you can honor that and you're going to feel more grounded compared to maybe you didn't eat a lot throughout the day. Maybe you've been wanting a cookie all day and now you're like extra impulsive. So you like rush home. And then you're like, I need the cookie right now. Well, of course you're not going to just have a few because you're already in an impulsive state. You're acting on an urge. You're not acting on a craving. And this is so important. You know, when I work with my clients, I really help them rewire their brain so that they no longer feel a strong urge to binge. And when you don't have any urges, you're not impulsive. And that's what makes it so much easier for you to have a few pieces of chocolate and move on because you're not feeling this urge of like, I need to eat more. You're not going through these out-of-body experiences. Yes, there was a comment here. My health actually improved since I stopped. I don't recommend tracking. So there's that. Okay, anyways. So if you feel like I am eating what I'm craving and I end up spiraling into a binge, you're probably having guilt, shame, and judgment. You're probably unrealistic with your portions, and you're probably not actually experiencing a craving. You're having an urge. And if the moment that you give into an urge is the moment you're going to spiral into a binge. Honoring your cravings is different than honoring urges. You want to eat what you're craving and say no to urges. Because when you eat what you're craving, you're going to prevent a binge. You're going to prevent a strong urge from happening. But if you keep on giving into your urges are going to become more and more and more intense, and you're going to keep on binging. So this is really the work that I do with my clients. Someone said, how do we rewire our brains? I have an entire membership on this. It's called the Root and Rewire membership, where I help you actually get to the root of your binge eating. I help you rewire your brain so you no longer feel a single urge to binge. I've had clients join this membership and, they've gone months without binging. I had a client who joined for 6 months and she hasn't binged since. I have had clients who are like, I finally feel like this is the real me, because you know that binging doesn't feel like you. So this is a membership. It's everything that you need to know about how to not give into your urges, how to stop thinking about food 24/7, how to process your emotions when you're stressed, you're anxious, how to actually process your emotions without always going into the pantry and making yourself feel better for 5 minutes by having some chocolate and then feeling like crap later on. You're part of an incredible badass community that these ladies see you. You're going to feel so empowered. You're going to know exactly what to do. You're not going to be second guessing like, how do I not give into my urges? There's trainings on how to do that. You're going to stop your secret eating. You're going to be able to get your hunger and fullness cues back so you can effortlessly stop when you're full. You're going to know the difference between cravings and urges so that you can eat what you're craving without spiraling out of control. You also get monthly coaching with me in there too. So if you're like, where the heck and Bob do I even begin? The Root and Rewire membership is the best place to start. There was a question here or a comment. My urges after 10 p.m. get insanely strong. So a lot of the times the evenings are very challenging for a lot of people. And this often happens because, again, going back to this whole training on cravings is if you're experiencing, let's say, some cravings throughout the day, and then you just kind of push them off thinking like it's not that big of a deal. Like maybe you want some, maybe, it's the afternoon and you're like, I really want something sweet. But you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't. I have to do good. Okay, don't have the chocolate. And you push off your craving. Your craving intensifies. It actually becomes stronger as the day goes on. And then come the evening, 10 o'clock at night, yes, exactly. And then 10 o'clock at night, you're like, I don't have a choice. I feel like I just have to give in. So when you ignore your cravings all day, they don't go away. They just build. They intensify. They become stronger. And it becomes the most frustrating thing. You're like, I can freaking do so well all day. And then come the evening, I just sabotage. But then it's not just the evenings. You wake up the next morning and you're still full and you're so bloated. You're like, do I eat breakfast? Do I not? I'm not hungry, but I should probably eat because I don't want to prevent another binge. And then you're like, what the heck, and Bob? Yes, I get it. And then again, this is why it's so important to honor your cravings, to not ignore your cravings. Because I'm telling you guys right now, like with so many clients that I've worked with, I've helped so many clients stop their binge eating. If you continue to ignore your cravings, you'll continue to binge at night. If you eat what you're craving, if you actually eat what you're craving, you will prevent a binge from happening later on. Your urges will stop popping up. You're having urges because you're not actually eating what you're craving. If you want chocolate and you're like, don't have it, you're going to eventually want it and you're going to want more of it later on. So it's so much better if you actually just eat what you're craving the moment that you actually experience it so that it doesn't intensify and turn into a binge. This is it. So if you are ready to stop your binge eating, you're committed, you're fired up, you're ready, you are not wanting binge eating to be a part of your life anymore, you just want to eat like a normal person. Maybe you love eating healthy and you want your body to actually reflect how healthy you love to eat. Maybe you're so successful in so many areas of your life and you're like, this whole binge eating thing is driving me absolutely bonkers. Maybe you want to be more present with your family, your children. You want to actually like live your life instead of having food be on your mind 24/7. I'd recommend really jumping into the Root and Rewire membership. It's a 6 or 12 month program. It's everything that you need to know. I am a queen at helping you rewire your brain out of binge eating. You don't need more motivation or willpower. You don't need to try harder. You need tangible brain-based tools that are going to help you actually rewire your brain out of these habitual cycles. So you can message me membership and I'll send all the details for you. But this is honestly like the best place to start. If you're like, where do I begin? Where do I even begin with this? The membership would be incredible. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. This was a little mini training on 3 reasons why you're eating what you're craving and you're continuing to spiral into a binge. So have a beautiful rest of your day, you guys, and we will see you soon. Okay, bye.